back to another show of Lemonade with Aplomb, where we have our guest, Eric Hart from NPI. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Jason.
It's great to have you on here, where we're just talking to different leaders to find out what leaders do when they're handed lemons. And Eric, you and I have worked together for a while now, and I got to facilitate a retreat with your staff.
Super useful. Thank you, Jason. And I think at this point in time, it's been really important for us to have a company culture that allows our people to work from home so they're on the same page. They know what they're doing. They have a vision of how they're serving the community and how they're serving our clients. And the work that we did with you was really valuable in that regard.
Well, it was fun stuff. We were talking about customer support and trying to come up with new ways of doing that, as well as finding ways to talk about the services that you provided.
Yeah, one of the things that we came up with that was kind of a surprise to me, it was kind of the staff voted on what was the most important next step for us, and it was really about better collaboration with our clients. And again, that has just been really important for us in this time of social distancing, where we have a mix of essential and non-essential clients, and some of whom we're able to visit on site, and some of whom we aren't. And so removed from that normal person-to-person interaction we have with our client, it's been really important to have the kind of collaboration and portals that you helped us kind of identify as an important need then.
Well, that's great to hear, and I'm always excited when things after the after the retreat are still being implemented, and also exciting that you had your staff vote on it and you went with their vote. That sort of empowerment is key to sustainable change.
That's nice of you to say. I hadn't thought of it as an optional thing. Speaking of sustainable, you also helped us with the sustainability triangle, kind of thinking about our business in the context of the larger community. And that's been really helpful too. We were a 30-year-old business last year, and
That's
we
great.
did a bunch of work for nonprofits. Every year in the past, we've kind of adopted a nonprofit, but this year or that year, we took the 30 and gave each person 30 hours to work for a nonprofit that we'd done work for in the past. So I don't even want to add up how much time and opportunity cost there was there, but that kind of thinking in the bigger picture has been really helpful to us. One of the things that we've done during this time is actually give away a lot of consulting time around collaboration and remote access. And also for our existing clients, we've been doing at no charge a lot of stuff that we don't normally do. And it's been important for our staff to kind of understand why we're doing that and to feel part of it and to feel good about it. So for example, we are supporting people's home networks. So, your user can call us and say, "How my Wi-Fi is terrible," or my internet connectivity isn't working," or whatever it may be. And, we're taking those support calls and doing that support, not something we would normally do. And we've also put together cheat sheets and are helping people install collaboration software at no charge as well. So we've been super busy, not all of it, honestly, leading to revenue. It does
Well,
certainly help with
short
client
term,
goodwill. Yeah.
not short term, right?
No, it's short, right. Long term, we certainly hope so that the referrals and that the goodwill is there. Many of our clients have said, "Wow, we just feel more supported by you right now than we ever have." I don't think that's a reflection on them not feeling good in the past, but it's just really an opportunity to prove your value, and
Yeah,
we've
and
been able
and,
to
and the
do that.
cornerstone of your business, as we had been talking, was about the relationships that you have with your customers and also with your staff. And I know you've spent a lot of time and energy, and we talked about ways to strengthen that bond and to say how can
Exactly.
we get a truly energized and motivated staff. Let me pause right there, because um, when I'm working with organizations around change management and trying to figure out how we can work together well as a team, I ask people to think about times in their life when maybe there was a change that they had to face. And sometimes, if you can think of a non business example, something that happened to
Mm,
you in your personal life that gave you the power to move forward? Can you think of a
Yeah.
time when you had to undergo change?
Yeah, for sure, and more than once, obviously. But I kind of hark back to the year 2000,
Hmm.
which was a tough time for us as a business, as your listeners probably know. The dot-com bubble burst in at the end of 1999, and people had spent, all of our clients had spent 3 years ahead of their IT budget and getting ready for Y2K, and so it was a severe fall off for us. And the first year in which we ever lost a significant amount of money, the first year we ever did a layoff, and the only year, thankfully, that we've ever done a layoff. And also, personally, a year in which both my young son and grandfather passed away. In
Oh,
the
I'm
middle of
sorry.
all that, one of my partners, we had three partners at the time, myself and two others, decided that the financial stress was too much for him, and so he left the business in with very short notice, and amicable but short. And so an incredibly stressful time. And at the time I felt like, God, this is just all falling on me, right? I'm alone here, have all these sort of mouths to feed in the business. And it turned out that that I wasn't alone. Both in
Well,
the grieving process and in our business process. It was really our staff,
well,
first and
Eric, before
foremost.
we go to the business, let's,
Sure.
first, I'm very sorry for your loss. I actually didn't know that you'd lost your son.
Yeah, yeah, he was
Um,
2.
and that's, besides that being very difficult,
Yeah.
how did you make it through that?
Well, first of all, you don't really make it through, right? I mean, I was just completely,
I can
uh, non-functional, and really, I mean, obviously, I sought out support groups, and we met other families who were in similar situations, and that was very helpful. But that really, if there's a time when you figure out whether the folks that you work with can take over and run without you, that's the time, right? Because you're just, it's just so crippling. And it was for my family. And I'm just incredibly grateful to all the folks around me, neighbors and friends, but really primarily our staff, for making that work, really, and kind of moving ahead without me.
Well, I'm sure you think about him all the time,
Yeah,
but it sounds like because you have a bedrock of support with family and friends and your staff, that they helped you through that.
that's absolutely true. Yeah, yeah,
When you look at studies of resilience and even longevity of people's lives, the power of relationships, those personal relationships, um, that there's correlated to people getting through the tough times and even living longer. That when people have strong relationships and strong networks, and often in business, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit, people tend to focus on what needs to get done. And
right.
sometimes we think, oh, it's nice to have relationships, but
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 optional.
but optional, and not
Right, right,
recognizing
right.
the power that those relationships actually affect the bottom line in
Yeah.
a very indirect but very real way.
Boy, that's really true. And it's hard in this time. We've brought on a couple of new people just before the COVID-19 crisis hit. And one question is, how do you really bring those people in, right? How do they become part of your team and your culture? And like other folks, we've been doing game nights, right? So once a week, people are getting on right after work and drinking their herbal tea or their beer or their cocktail, and playing trivia games or just shooting the breeze, actually, for about an hour and a half. And that's been great. We have tons of way more meetings in the early days than we probably needed to. We really kind of overkilled it, but tons of more kind of this kind of person to person meeting than we would normally have. And we're having lots of conversations with staff members about their individual needs, which I think is really important. This is really, again, in the same way that we can prove to our clients that we really care about them, it's a time when we can really prove to our employees that we care about them, give them the time off that they require, provide bonuses during the COVID-19 time to cover some of their extra expenses or income they may be losing in other parts of their family, and just having those personal conversations and saying, what do you need and how is it working for you? That's a time when we can kind of build some trust and additional relationship with our staff.
That's great. And I know that's something that's always been valuable at NPI. Could you actually give a quick explanation of what does NPI do and who do you serve?
Sure, absolutely.
Why?
So, now's a great time, as uncertain as it is right now. I know other business owners must be feeling like I do, which is it's just really, really hard to navigate the tough waters right now. What we do is provide security and safety, and we do that by being the IT department for small businesses, nonprofits throughout Vermont, upstate New York, and New Hampshire.
And getting back to what you were saying about your staff, I mean, one of the fun things that I loved about this team environment and was that you had a gong, and you still have the gong.
We still have the gong. The gong is so effective. Anytime that somebody does something that is gong worthy, and at one point we actually kind of brainstormed a list because we didn't feel like people were being gonged enough, right? I mean,
Oh,
text would be
love it.
gonged whenever there was good client feedback, but what about admin people and what about salespeople? And and so we've come up with a whole list of stuff that people should gong each other on. And it's not me that does the gonging. It's whoever is motivated to do that. And the total number of gongs has continued to go up. The end of the month, every month in a staff meeting, we tally up the gongs, we present the winners, give out a gift card to that person. We've actually now, Jason, got a bulletin board where we have nice, funny photos of each
Oh, I
person
love
that
it.
wins the monthly award. And at the end of the year, at our holiday party, we have an award for the person that wins the most throughout the whole
And,
year.
and a gong is for if I've done exceptional customer service
Yeah,
or.
absolutely. Finished a big project on time. If, a prospective customer signs an agreement with us, or if anybody from the outside gives positive feedback to anyone. So if someone emails us or responds to a survey and says, geez, Ruben was great, or Michelle is always so helpful, or whatever, that's a gong.
Excellent.
And we feature the gong on our website, by the way. At least
That's right. That's
I
right.
believe we
Okay.
do. I'm not sure. I think we do. Yeah.
And so in this time of COVID, and it's June, we're looking at what is something that you want your for companies or nonprofits with a critical IT system. What advice would you have for them?
Yeah. So, this is a terrible and difficult time, and it's also an opportunity. And some of the things that we're seeing people do is really start to codify their work from home policies. So they're able to offer additional work from home that they really didn't think was going to work before. Now they know that it does. Many people are finding that people are as productive or even more productive working from home. We have customers who are actually able to let their staff now work from out of state to take care, for example, of elderly parents, and are even looking to potentially hire out of state, which is something that they never felt that they could do before. So certainly that's a positive thing that people can do. We're seeing people who kind of cobbled together collaboration tools in the early days of the crisis, doing Zoom or whatever it may be, really kind of saying, you know what, this is going to be another 6 months, it's going to be another year. We need to lay a better foundation. So they're implementing teams, they're really kind of building collaboration. And in many cases, we have people with old phone systems who are looking to upgrade those to make them really more remote friendly, allow operator calls to be handled correctly, voicemail to be business voicemail, not people using their personal cell phones and calling people back and all of that. So that is something that we're seeing people work on. And finally, and this is sort of an odd one, but we're seeing people think about their disaster recovery plan. This was really kind of a
Right.
slow-mo disaster, right? It didn't happen. It wasn't like your office caught on fire and you're on the street. We had weeks to plan and get ready, and in many cases we sort of knew it was coming. Great opportunity to now go back and take those lessons and make your disaster recovery plans more concrete, or create one if you didn't have one.
Excellent. Great. Well, it's always a pleasure talking with you, Eric.
It's my pleasure, Jason. Really great to see you. Great to see that you're doing well, and happy Lemonade Day.
Yes, you as well.